This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous. Your talk is cheap, so now I'm standing here, You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here, don't question my heart.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Extreme Resurrection. I am your host, James Gruenberg, and tonight we are coming off of No Way Out 2008, where our current ECW champion, Chavo Guerrero, had a return match against CM Punk, and Chavo Guerrero retained the ECW title at No Way Out in a very clean finish as well. He pushes Punk off of the turnbuckle and he hits the frog splash, and Chavo beats Punk fair and clean at No Way Out. But as always, I have my co-host with me. He is Steve Riddle. Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back. And yes, we are now essentially on the road to WrestleMania 24 in our timeline. Kind of funny after we just crossed past WrestleMania in the current day.
Yes, it's been, and that was a wild WrestleMania, and WrestleMania 24 was a great WrestleMania as well. And like you said, we're on the road to WrestleMania 24 here. Steve, there is one thing that I will say about the first show that we're doing, ECW, on February 19th, is that they don't recap the No Way Out performance match of Chavo Guerrero versus CM Punk. They basically just skip over it and they go about their business on ECW. Yet ECW has to do the Raw recaps, and it recapped the whole Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show feud that is going on for WrestleMania 24 here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they, like you said, they pretty much just go full bore into WrestleMania, and because that was a pretty big deal having Mayweather show up at No Way Out and do his little thing with the Big Show. And you mentioned they don't talk about this ECW match, and in fact, Chavo nowhere to be found on our first episode. Like, he's just like, your ECW champion is like not even anywhere, like not a promo, not nothing.
Yeah, and that was crazy to me. Instead, we have we have legends teaming up with teaming up tonight, and we have just a plain old ECW episode here. Again, Chavo wins. They don't care. I mean, I guess Chavo's been helping Edge with all the La Familia stuff on SmackDown, but again, it's like, where's the ECW champion for this episode?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's deep dive into this episode. As I said, it is ECW February 19th, 2008. We're live in San Diego here. And Ric Flair comes to the ring. As we all know, Ric Flair has been doing, I would say, the retirement tour, because the next match he loses against, he will retire from WWE and professional wrestling altogether this year. So it seems like they have been giving him a chance to be on like all three shows. I assume he'll make some SmackDown appearances as well as the road to WrestleMania is approaching. But here he is tonight on ECW. He comes out to the ring. Taz congratulates Rick, and keep in mind also that Ric Flair on Raw the Monday after No Way Out, he was announced to be inducted into the Hall of Fame class of 2008. So Taz is in the ring. He congratulates Rick on getting into the Hall of Fame. Flair says it's an honor to be in the Hall of Fame. Rick says he is honored to be on ECW. And then Elijah Burke comes out. Burke welcomes Flair to his house, ECW. And then Shelton Benjamin comes out. Shelton Benjamin says Flair has been the gold standard, but Shelton then calls himself the old standard. He basically just says Ric Flair is old and that his time is over. Flair says, between the two of you, for all the gold, if you win gold, basically says you'll never equal out how many gold titles that I've won. So then Benjamin and Burke beat up Ric Flair, and then CM Punk comes out and cleans house. What did you think of this opening segment here, Steve?
It was interesting seeing Flair show up here. Like you said, the night before, he was announced as the first inductee for the 2008 class and the first active competitor to be inducted, which was a pretty big deal. And kind of an interesting little back and forth there with Burke and with Benjamin, lead into the attack and then Punk making the save. So again, here's CM Punk. He just lost, his chance to be ECW champion. Now he's just going right here into this thing with helping Flair against Burke and Benjamin. Again, no mention at all of Chavo.
Yeah, you would think that it would start off with Chavo Guerrero getting a promo, but no, we have Ric Flair on a retirement tour, basically.
Or have Chavo interrupt Flair.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. It's really burying the ECW third brand here if you don't have your champion who fought in a match on No Way Out and won, basically. Because again, he wins fair and square. He didn't even cheat.
Yeah, that's the only thing. He won fairly. He basically won clean.
Yeah. But like I said, here we are. Armando Estrada then announces a tag match for the 4 men. So it'll be Burke and Shelton Benjamin versus Ric Flair and CM Punk. And now we have another Kofi Kingston match. This time he is facing Jason Riggs. Hip toss by Kofi, elbow by Riggs. Riggs throws Kofi down. Russian leg sweep and leg drop by Kofi. Jamaican buzzsaw by Kofi for the win. I want a star. The crowd again was very, very quiet here, Steve.
Yeah, I want to star as well. So Kofi goes from facing a name guy the previous week, and he's back now to facing a jobber. So kind of weird. I don't know what that says about Mike Knox. But yeah, I mean, again, another good showcase for him. Gets his moves. Yeah, the crowd was quiet, but they are starting to get behind him. Like they're like when he does before he does the jumping leg drop, he does the boom boom. They're going with him. So they are slowly getting behind him. And I do always crack when Joey calls the spin kick the Jamaican buzzsaw. Like what? Like it's just sounds really funny. But just again another showcase win for Kofi.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that I forget is that the Trouble in Paradise? Basically, like, is that his finisher?
Yeah, that's what it would be called.
Trouble in Paradise. Oh, but yeah, so the Jamaican buzzsaw kick is Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah, that's what it would be called. Although honestly, I think the Jamaican buzzsaw sounds a lot cooler.
Oh, okay, yeah, but I mean, Taz has been saying Trouble in Paradise, but even though they haven't really done the whole this is the Trouble in Paradise, So we'll see when they actually finally start calling it that. But then Kofi gets interviewed and he says ECW is paradise and he will take care of trouble if there is trouble in paradise. So little promo from Kofi Kingston saying that, ECW is his home and he's going to take care of the trouble here. So fairly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get a recap of Raw. It's Hornswoggle versus Mr. McMahon in a steel cage match. Again, ECW has to recap Raw, but they don't really recap Chavo versus CM Punk at No Way Out. And Mr. McMahon gives Hornswoggle a whipping, and then JBL comes out. He beats up Finley, and he beats up Hornswoggle as well.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. That was a brutal assault on Hornswoggle. I mean, granted, he's obviously, he's a professional, so he is, trained at this, but still, it was pretty uncomfortable seeing, this big guy JBL, essentially beat down, a dwarf. It fits JBL because he's a bully in character and in real life, so it fit. But yeah, just really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see how that fans out between JBL and Finley eventually, as we'll see that's going to go down the line at WrestleMania. Now we have the Miz versus Colin Delaney, as Tommy Dreamer is still accompanying Colin Delaney and being his friend. Front slam by Miz, running clothesline by Miz. Colin bounces off the ropes. Morrison trips Colin and gets ejected, but then it's a reality check by the Miz for the win here. So the Miz pins Colin after the reality check. For this match, I gave it a star as well. It's nothing. There's no offense. One little roll up by Colin for like a 1.5 count or a 2 count, but again, nothing there. So the Miz gets the win. I want a star on it, Steve.
Yeah, I want a star as well. Interesting note. Joey and Taz mentioned on commentary that the Miz and Morrison have just started their own net web show, The Dirt Sheet, which will become become their signature going forward. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, basically a squash. Miz destroys him, and yeah, I love how Morrison trips him up. But then when the ref questions him, Morrison tries to say, "Oh no, he tripped on the apron. He tripped on the on the apron," and the ref still throws him out. But it doesn't even matter because then Miz just polishes them off easily, and then they beat down Tommy afterwards. So, just some more heat building there for Miz and Morrison, and some more getting some more sympathy there for Colin.
Yes, as you said, Tommy fights Miz, but then Morrison hits a corkscrew neck breaker on him, and they flapjack Colin, and it looks like he's like bleeding as well, like he's bleeding from the mouth here as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kelly is backstage. She's excited that Maria is going to be in Playboy, and then she flirts the idea of herself going into Playboy. And I believe actually that this was the last time that Playboy and WWE would do business together, as Maria is the last WWE diva that we know of sponsored to do Playboy here.
Yeah, because obviously later this year they'll go PG, and obviously you can't go PG and partner up with essentially a porn magazine. So, yeah, Maria the last one. But I'm pretty confident if they kept the partnership going that Kelly was going to be a potential cover girl at some point.
Yeah, Kelly could have probably been the 07. I mean the 09 cover girl.
Yeah.
Yep. So now then she just does her little dance moves and everything too. There's nothing really there. Then we have Stevie Richards versus James Curtis. So instead of Kofi taking on James Curtis, it's Stevie Richards taking on James Curtis. They must have had James Curtis on a little contract or a developmental deal, because he's been seen on a lot of times here on ECW.
Yeah, I mean, he was around. We were seeing him back in 06 when he was teaming with, or was that I think it was the same guy, because I'm thinking of KC James, who was teaming with Idol Stevens. I think it's the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, sorry, just checking. Yeah, it is the same guy. So he's been around at least since 06, at least on TV. But yeah, just kind of, popping up here on ECW. I'm guessing they still thought that he had something, that they're keeping him around, but at this point, he's pretty much just, a name jobber.
Alrighty. Well, we have kicks by Stevie, clothesline by Curtis, kick to Stevie's back, neckbreaker, and Stevie T for the win. For this matchup, it's a star as well. Not a whole lot from Curtis, and Stevie just has like the kicks and like the Stevie T, as Joey likes to call it too. So I gave it a star.
I went 3/4 of a star. It's again just another squash. Kind of a. I mean, I get that they're trying to get Stevie back out there, kind of playing up the story of, him having all these throat surgeries and he's trying to make, kind of a comeback. But I feel like at this point, I don't think he's totally washed, but in terms of being like a guy that they can push as a mid-carder, I think his time's already passed. And at this point, they'd be better off just using him as like a name guy to, put some other like younger guys over.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Stevie here as well. So now we're already at our main event here, as again we have like WrestleMania 24 countdowns on. It's like 42 days, and it goes to like 37 days here. But a lot of WrestleMania 24 publicity here. And I think also we had another Raw recap of Big Show and Floyd Mayweather on Raw, where Big Show tries to apologize and, is just beating Floyd and everything.
Yeah, because I think it was on the Raw that that Big Show like challenged him to a match, and Floyd accepted.
Yep. So now we have Elijah Burke and Shelton Benjamin versus Ric Flair and CM Punk. Burke takes Punk down, shoulder tackle to Punk, chops by Flair. Flair slams Burke, double clothesline by Flair. Tag to Punk, drop kick and a running knee to Shelton, but Benjamin counters the Bulldog. Handspring elbow to Punk, knee to Punk's ribs by Benjamin. Shelton throws Punk to the outside, drop kick to Shelton, tags to Burke and Flair, backdrop by Flair, Punk clotheslines Shelton out. Burke misses the Elijah Express, and then Ric Flair puts him in the figure 4 leg lock to Burke, and he taps out. For this matchup, I went 2 stars. It was a good tag team match. Your standard tag team matchup, Burke doing the handstand elbow, as I call it, and then the clothesline over the top. Ric Flair gets the win, and he makes Elijah Burke submit. So I went 2 stars on it.
I went 2 1/4. I thought it was fine. Kind of one of my favorite things is that Burke goes up top, but Flair catches him and tosses him to the mat. That's like a Flair spot there where Flair goes to the top and gets tossed up. But then Flair then goes up top, and then he comes off and hits his move on both Burke and Benjamin. So kind of turning the tables there. But kind of interesting having Punk be the face in peril. I thought that was interesting. I liked that counter by I think it was Benjamin countering the Bulldog by just tossing Punk off. At one point, Benjamin looked like he was going to go for a buckle bomb, but he ends up just kind of pushing him over the top to the floor, which I thought was kind of weird. And then Flair gets the hot tag and kind of cleans house a bit, and then a good little ending there where Burke misses the Elijah Express in the corner and hurts his knee, and that allows Flair to get the figure 4 in, which I thought was good. I mean, not really good for Burke because he's now we think about almost a little over a year ago where Burke was supposed to be this new top heel, because even references at the early in the night when he was confronted Flair, he mentions about how he was handpicked by Vince to be the new face of ECW, and now here he is a year later tapping out clean to Ric Flair on his retirement tour. So yeah, Burke not in a great place, but it was a good win for Flair and for Punk to kind of get Punk back on the winning track. He gets to wrestle with a guy I'm sure he had a lot of respect for, and it gives Flair another kind of big win as he's starting to wind it down.
Yeah, and it was weird because Burke also says, "Oh, I was the one, like you said, handpicked by Mr. McMahon to lead a group of new breed," and there is no new breed anymore. Kevin Thorne's gone. Like the whole thing went kaput.
Yeah, Thorne's gone, Corvan is gone, and Stryker at this point is just more kind of a manager a manager now instead of a wrestler. So, uh, yeah, uh, poor Burke.
Yeah, really just not getting the short end of the stick.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into our next ECW show, let's go over the card of No Way Out and the winners here. It was Triple H who won the Raw Elimination Chamber, so he'll face the WWE champion at WrestleMania. Randy Orton defeated John Cena to retain his WWE title. So Cena foregone his WrestleMania title shot and wanted Orton at No Way Out, and he loses. The Undertaker wins the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, and he gets to face Edge at WrestleMania 24, who retained his World Heavyweight title against Rey Mysterio. Then the Big Show came out and chokeslammed him. Big Show actually returned, and then he called out Floyd Mayweather, who was in the crowd. Mayweather jumps in and he punches Big Show and breaks his nose. Were you surprised by that punch by Mayweather that it actually like broke Big Show's nose?
Not completely. I mean, you hear a lot of things about Floyd that he's, got a lot, packs a lot of power behind his punches. And remember, he wasn't wearing. I mean, those were bare fists. They were. He wasn't gloved. So, yeah. So I mean, I'm not that surprised. And he apparently caught. I mean, he caught him with like 3 or 4 good punches too. That was still actually kind of a big shot because I don't think nobody expected Big Show to come out there because he had been gone since late 2006, and and he looked I mean, he looked in great shape. I mean, he had slimmed down. He was back to having like the shaved head after kind of having the scraggly hair towards the end of his ECW run. So he looked great, and this was a big big spot for him to be in there with I mean, you could argue that Mayweather was probably the most famous boxer at that time, probably since Tyson in the late 90s.
Yeah, so just a whole lot there. And then Ric Flair defeated Mr. Kennedy in a match where if Ric Flair lost, he would have to retire. So No Way Out 2008 was a great show, and obviously Chavo Guerrero defeated CM Punk to retain the ECW title as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, a good show.
Yeah, it was
No Way Out.
Yeah, it was. I mean, both chambers I thought delivered really well. Edge and Ray I think was slightly disappointing, but only I think because Ray I think was dealing with with an injury, so they had to cut it short. Cena Orton was good. That was a finish that was actually really unique because Orton knew he was down, so he ends up slapping the ref to get himself DQ'd. So, again, like you said, Cena busts out on his title shot. Funny enough that we're talking Cena Orton here in 2008. Meanwhile, in the current day, 2025, they're on the verge of having potentially their final pay-per-view match together. Guess the old, the more things change, the more they say the same.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy too for what happens at Backlash 2025. Alrighty, so let's get into our next ECW episode. This is ECW February 26, 2008. We're live in Tucson, Arizona, and it's a mixed tag team matchup here. We have Kelly and Kofi Kingston versus Layla, and from Raw, it's Santino Marella. So not only are they doing the SmackDown brand trade here, they're also having Raw superstars come on ECW here as well, Steve.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe it was because of I was just gonna say, I think maybe it was because of Kelly's comments the week before about about Maria being in Playboy, and obviously that was the big thing that since Maria and Santino were, or I guess a couple, he didn't want her to do it. So, yeah, but yeah, just really weird that of all people, that Santino would show up.
Mm-hmm. So we have a double drop kick to Santino from Kofi and Kelly. Kofi bounces off the top rope, clothesline to Kofi. Santino goes to work on Kofi. Layla mocks Kofi with the boom, boom, boom. And then like a diving crossbody to Layla by Kelly. And then another two cross bodies. And then a modified famouser to Layla by Kelly for the win here. For this matchup, I gave it a 1.5 stars. It was a good showing by both Kofi and Kelly here, as Kelly is trying a little bit better to wrestle here, Steve.
Yeah, I did go a star, but I tell you, Kelly and Layla have definitely considering the one match they had like back in what was October, November, that was like absolute garbage. They've definitely improved. Again, interesting spot for Kofi. Being put in this match. A lot of focus seemed to be again on Kelly and Layla. Although she and Kofi did hit that nice double drop kick on Santino, and then Kofi, not too much shine for Kofi though. I thought you get a little bit more, but it seemed like I said it was more of the focus seemed to be on Kelly and Layla. But again, Kelly has been looking a lot better, and her getting the win over Layla maybe finally puts that long-ending feud to bed, and it keeps Kofi's winning streak alive, because they do mention about Kofi being undefeated, but poor Kelly, she just can't do anything, the first time probably. Like Kofi's trying to get her to do like the clapping thing, and she's just like so off base with it. It's just so bad.
I'll tell you, Steve, I know he is done here, but I kind of thought Balls Mahoney was coming out again.
Yeah, where's he been?
I don't know, but I was like, are they still like kind of continuing this Balls Mahoney Kelly angle? And I was like, oh, thank God, it's Kofi Kingston and Kelly here.
Yeah, I guess they figured that nobody cared enough about it that they could just drop it and nobody would ask any questions.
Yes. So yeah, it was a good matchup between the two teams, and good win for Kelly here. I did kind of like that famous there too, and she goes, "Kiss my ass." Can't say that in 2025. I mean, maybe you can, but not when you're going PG.
Yeah.
So now we have Mike Knox versus Stevie Richards. So Mike Knox is back here. Now we said that like Kofi Kingston goes from Mike Knox to Jason Riggs. The other thing I was going to say was, where's Guido versus Kofi? How come Guido's not here? I thought he was going to be the next contender after Mike Knox. It goes in order. It goes Mike Knox, and then it goes the Guido squash match.
Yeah, another MIA guy.
Yep. So Stevie Richards is taking on Mike Knox. Knox goes for the throat of Stevie Richards. He bounces Stevie off the top rope. Then we have a clothesline by Knox, a hard clothesline, and then a leg drop to Stevie's throat, clothesline, and a Stevie T for the win. Again, it's 1 star, like mostly just kicks and the Stevie T for the win here. So I want a star. It is what it is. Stevie's just getting wins and is getting cheered by the crowd, Steve.
Yeah, I actually went a 1.25 stars. It was fine, but again, we talked earlier about Burke. Mike Knox, another guy that seemed to have so much potential, and it's just been. I mean, ever since he split from Kelly, he's been absolutely wasted. I mean, you figure this is a match where he should get back on track with a win, and he does a good job targeting the throat, and really working on it. But then he. Not just, I mean, it's one thing if you would job to like a flash like roll-up pin by Stevie, but the fact that Stevie gets his finisher on him and pins him clean, I mean, where are we going here with Mike Knox?
I don't know. Even that big clothesline. I mean, that big leg drop that he gives Stevie to the throat too looked devastating.
Yeah, and this is what I meant earlier. It's like, this is this is like, I don't mind Stevie in the match, but this is when he should be the one like putting Knox over, not the other way around.
Yeah. Then we have Tommy Dreamer. He's backstage and he's pumping up Colin Delaney because they have a match versus The Miz and John Morrison tonight. But before we get there, we have another Raw recap as Mr. McMahon says he is sorry that he put Hornswoggle through tough love and fed him to JBL, basically. And then JBL comes out and he says, "Oh, well, Hornswoggle is not your son. It's Finley who is Hornswoggle's father." Again, I feel like they were going with this like from the get-go. It's like, wait, he really is Mr. McMahon's son, or no, he's really Finley's son. I find it a little weird. Not weird, but I would say a little disrespectful that Joey Styles and Taz have to talk about what's going on Raw instead of talking about what's going on in ECW, Steve.
Yeah, this whole thing is just really bizarre. Like, I think it was just kind of, they played up the whole thing with Hornswoggle being Vince's, son. I think they figured it was time to put it to bed, and they weren't sure how to go about it, so they just kind of took a cop out. And since Hornswoggle's been with Finley the whole time, just make it be like that he's Finley's son. Yeah, just really bizarre.
Yeah, so again, if you're following Raw, follow that storyline. But again, we're here to talk about ECW, yet ECW has to talk about Monday Night Raw here. And we have our tag team match. It is The Miz and John Morrison versus Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney. Tommy slams Miz, hip toss to Morrison, clothesline and somersault dive by Colin, diving elbow to Colin by Morrison, tag to Tommy, bulldog to the Miz, tree of woe, a clothesline to Morrison, and then Miz runs into Colin's shoulder, which knocks him for a loop, and then Tommy gives the Miz the DDT for the win. For this matchup, I went a star and 3/4. It was very fun. And Colin Delaney, even though he doesn't get the pin, he has his first tag team victory with Tommy here as they defeat the Miz and John Morrison.
Yeah, I went, what did I give it? I gave it a star and a star and a quarter as well. Basic tag match here. Colin now starting to lose some of the tape. I think only his arm now is taped up, so kind of getting rid of all that. Tommy does most of the layman's the work. Colin does get a couple of offense in, but he's still pretty much the punching bag until Dreamer gets a hot tag. And I like how Tommy and Colin won, because you got to give them something, because I mean they've been pretty much been handled by Miz and Morrison at this point, so they deserve to get a win. I feel like the pop though would have been a lot bigger if it was Colin that got in the pin and not Tommy, because you really wanted to put the fact over that Colin won his first match, but yet it's Tommy that's the one that gets the pin. So I don't mind Tommy and Colin winning, because again it keeps the feud going, but I think it would have just been a little bit better. I think it would have gotten the crowd a little bit hotter if it was like, maybe still do the finish, have Tommy hit the DDT, but then have Colin be the one to get the pin.
Yeah, I don't know why they were holding Colin back when the pop would have been a louder pop if Colin had gotten the pin, like you said. So we'll see where this goes, and we know where it's going to go because the Miz and Morrison are arguing backstage, and Lena Yada is in the backstage area with them with a microphone as she announces that it will be a tag team title match between Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney versus the Miz and John Morrison, and the Miz goes, "Well, just like the Big Show, we have a better chance of winning than Floyd Mayweather does at WrestleMania against Big Show." So he's putting over that the Big Show is going to beat Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania, and that they're going to just destroy Colin and Tommy Dreamer and retain their tag titles here. Notice how Lena Yada is regulated to interview segments here.
Yeah,
Hopefully we see it again, or they just didn't. They had no plans for her at all,
or at least not in the way of being like a wrestler yet. Just keep her as an interviewer.
Yeah, because like we see her trying to be like in like that whole Diva Alliance where it's like Layla Victoria and her and Lena Yada, and now we're seeing her here. So obviously it didn't go as they planned with her. So we'll see where she actually goes in ECW here. Okay. Yep. And now we have, Steve, our main event. It is a triple threat number one contenders match. That is CM Punk versus Elijah Burke versus Shelton Benjamin. Chavo Guerrero is here tonight as he comes out for commentary. So he's here. And we have our match. It's a sidekick to Elijah by Shelton. So no double teaming. No double team moves from Shelton and Elijah, as we see like the sidekick to Elijah by Shelton. So already Shelton's trying to do this on his own. Insecurity by Punk. Burke pulls Shelton out of the ring. Anita Burke, headbutt to Punk, clothesline to Punk, flapjack to Burke, and a dropkick to Burke to the outside. Inverted bulldog to Punk by Shelton. Double clothesline by Burke and Shelton. Benjamin powerbombs Punk to the outside. He leaps over Burke and Punk, lands on his feet, and powerbombs Punk to the outside. Dropkick by Burke, outer limits elbow to Punk. Diving knee by Burke, suplex by Shelton to Burke. Dragon spin kick to Punk. GTS to Burke for the win. And then Chavo comes in and he faces off against Punk here. The finish was a little wonky because I think either Shelton was trying to make the save or like the referee kind of screwed up the timing here. All in all, it was a good matchup. I went 2 3/4 on it, Steve.
I went 2.5. I don't think we mentioned. So the reason Chavo's there is because whoever won the match will get a title shot the next week. So this was
number
one.
Yeah, I did say the number one contenders. Yep, I did say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I thought all three guys worked really hard. I thought Benjamin actually stood out the most in the match. Like you said, the diving over both guys to the outside and then hitting the power bomb on the floor. I thought that was really cool. There's a moment where like Burke's on the top rope, but Benjamin just like leaps up top and hits a superplex, which I thought looked really good. There were a few kind of miscues though. There was one point where Benjamin hit the inverted bulldog, and I think Burke was supposed to pull him outside, but he was a little late because if you look, the ref like almost hit 3 and Punk didn't kick out, so I think the ref had to like stop it quick because I think Burke was too late pulling him outside. So it kind of dinged there, but yeah, some good back and forth. I'm glad they didn't do like the handicap format, like the two heels beating on the face the whole time, like we usually see. I'm glad that Burke and Benjamin actually went after each other. Yeah, the finish was it did feel a bit weird. Like like Punk hits a GTS on Burke, and it does seem like Benjamin either missed a cue or he yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that, but not a shock. Punk won. Figure he gets one more shot at Chavo. Honestly, I mean, for a second, I was kind of thinking, why not give Benjamin the win? Because he's kind of, he kind of stood out the most of the match. But I guess, but I say that, but then it's like, well, I don't want him. Whoever wins is probably gonna have to, put over Chavo the next week, and I didn't want to see Benjamin take the pin to Chavo. So again, Punk the better choice to win.
Yeah, so it will be CM Punk versus Chavo Guerrero again for the ECW title next week on ECW here. And that's going to do it for us here tonight, covering ECW shows. But we sort of do have a good good direction on where we're going. Again, we have another ECW title match, and we're finally getting the tag team title match that we sort of thought was coming, as we have the Miz and John Morrison versus Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney here. So, well, all in all, we'll see how those two matches fan out, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you figure this is probably, depending what happens in the Punk Chavo match, if Punk does not win the title back, you figure one, Chavo's going to be pinning the Mania with that belt, and two, you almost figure maybe Punk is, not much longer for ECW, and he's ready to move on to one of the other two brands.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get out of here, Steve, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
So you can find me typically over on the PTB pop feed. I have a few shows over there: the Video Jukebox Song of the Day, Making Mount Rushmore, and Pop Goes the Classics. That's myself, Andy Atherton, and Miranda Berthold. We're going through all the Disney animated films. Our most recent episode, we discussed the film Big Hero 6, which is in my opinion, kind of one of the more underrated films that Disney's put out in the last decade. So that was a lot of fun, and we got two big ones coming up after that. So I'm looking forward to those. You can also find me over on the North-South Connection feed. I was on the most recent episode of Cronoso. The main focus on that show was the July 1990 Saturday Night's Main Event. And on that, I discussed the return of Hulk Hogan as he came out, cut a promo on Earthquake, building up to their big matchup at SummerSlam. So be sure to follow that or listen to that. And also be sure to follow us on all the feeds here on our pods, and as well as our YouTube channels. If you have not done so, please subscribe to all four: this feed, Pop feed, North South, and the Backbone feed. A lot of great content over there. A lot of evergreen content. I know Ryan Gray's got his Backlash previews up there as we're recording this. So please give us some love by subscribing to those feeds.
Yeah, always a good time on most of the feeds there. I did listen to the Big Hero 6 and found it very interesting too on what would be like if San Francisco got rebuilt.
Yeah, San Francisco, the San Francisco Tokyo hybrid.
Oh yeah. As for me, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed. I have this podcast, and I also have a podcast called Nation Invasion, where I look back at the invasion storyline of WWF versus the Alliance, WCW and ECW. I just finished the recording of No Mercy 2001, which had that great triple threat match between Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, and Rob Van Dam. Chris Jericho versus The Rock for the WCW title. Edge and Christian, the ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and much more on that watch along. I did that with Justin Rosero, Justin Rosero and Marcus Fuller, and all of Jeremy Nichols joined us as well as we watched No Mercy 2001. And over on the Pop feed, I have Pop Goes Degrassi, where me and John Kesalico, we are looking back at the show Degrassi Next Generation. We are in season 2, and we'll have a new episode recorded soon for that as well. Well, we met a couple of new characters. We met Craig, Ellie, and Marco, who are going to be mainstays through the show. And Ashley's trying to get back with the group after the fallout of season 1. So we'll see how that goes as well. Well, that's going to do it from us here on Extreme Resurrection. He's Steve Riddle. I'm James Gruenberg, and we will see you next time.